Hi!
I'm Quentin.
And I'm Quincy.
And this is
Queries and Quandaries, Quirky Questions on a Quouch. Hey everybody, welcome back to Two Kids on a Couch. Today we're doing something a little bit different. So a little bit ago we put something out on Facebook asking if anyone had questions or problems that we could help give advice for. And today we're going to answer them.
Qualified or not, we are here to help. Our first question comes from Ezra. And he asks, how do you deal with annoying castmates?
Ah, that's a good question.
That is a good question. I think the way we see it, they're kind of like 3 tiers of annoying.
Okay.
So there's first tier, which is they're an okay person, they do their work, they respect the show. You just, for whatever reason, don't want to click with them and kind of find them annoying. There really isn't much you can do about that. Just kind of focus on the show. If you're not in a lot of scenes with them, you don't have to see them a lot.
But mutual respect is important.
Yeah. Tier 2.
So this is where it kind of starts to affect the work.
Yeah.
And you're like, they don't care, and that's at least what makes us very annoyed.
Yes.
Is when other performers aren't doing the work or aren't invested. Again, there's not that much you can do about it except keep raising the bar for yourself. Sometimes if you just work harder, they'll rise to it.
So then there's tier 3.
Tier 3.
Peak annoyance.
Yeah.
And that's when your core values and their core values are in like direct opposition. This is something that's getting in the way of your work or your process or what you think is best for the show. If it reaches a certain level, talk to your director. They are there to create a unified cast. Every director's goal is unity among the cast. That's their job. That's why they're there. We have seen instances where issues like this came up and they were resolved and it went fine and the show was great. And we've seen instances where it wasn't resolved and it caused fractures and down the line there were problems.
Yeah. And perhaps, I guess the most important advice I can have is don't be the annoying person.
Don't be the annoying person.
And regularly check yourself to make sure you're not the annoying person.
Like, I've been the annoying person and I wish someone would have told me sooner.
Yeah. Recognize that even if you're a super talented person, if you're hard to work with or annoying to work with,
people will not
put you in their show. The best way to not be around annoying people is to not be an annoying person. Then you'll get put in shows where people don't like to work with annoying people. You can kind of weed the annoying people out. And like, they'll always be there, one or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you hit them, talk to your director, focus on the work, and make sure it's not you.
Yeah.
Good question, Isaac. Appreciate you. Our next question comes from Kaylee. She asks, what makes a good audition? So first of all, Kaylee, thanks for submitting. I would like to direct you to a video we released about a year ago. 2 years ago. That has a lot of good audition tips on how to pick things and how to prepare for an audition. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Honestly, the people you audition for don't really care about the material.
You'll be better served by working hard on a bad monologue than not working very much on a good monologue.
Yeah. Just make choices.
Make choices. And don't always make the obvious choice, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no. I know I do it. I think you can make a point to go for like your second or third instinct and just like see where it takes you.
Yeah. You don't necessarily have to follow the rest of the context of the play. When you do a monologue, you want it to have a full arc. Yeah. You want it to go from one place and end someplace else. And
people don't write monologues within the scope of plays because then the arc is over in a 60-second period.
Right. So a monologue. So oftentimes a monologue will kind of be one emotion very strong, and that's boring to watch. So sometimes you want to intentionally give it some more variance. So moving on to our next question.
Mary Kate asks, how do you feel about actors starring in work that they create? So there are kind of 2 paths to that question that can take. So there's high profile and there's low profile. High profile is sort of like Dave Malloy from Great Comic, and like Lynn was Hamilton and Ustavi and stuff. Yeah. And it was going to happen regardless, because like there were producers, there was support, there was a company behind it, and the show was going to happen. Really, whether or not those 2 were in their respective leads. I feel, especially in big shows like Hamilton and Heights and stuff, that there are other actors who could have done that role better than he did.
And shows like John Cameron Mitchell and Hedwig, I feel like when those started, that was, I want to tell this story, and I'm gonna do it until someone else.
And the cool thing about John Cameron Mitchell is that when the show made the Broadway transfer, it wasn't him. He was the replacement. Like when everyone was looking at the show, John Cameron Mitchell said, I should not play the role at this time. Yeah. And that takes sense. I mean, I'm sure that was hard. So that's high profile, and that's all well and good in its own right. Yeah. There's also low profile, making your own work. Low profile has to do with, we want to make this art And unless we put it on its feet by ourselves and with each other, it's not going to happen. And that's something that I am so behind. And I think there is kind of a negative stigma around it, kind of the idea of like, oh, like you can't get cast in anything, so you have to write your own thing. And I think that's so not true. And I think as an actor, you feel so at the mercy of everyone else, of casting directors and agents and publicists, and like you're always trying to get into someone else's stuff, and like getting into other people's stuff is great.
Absolutely.
But there's, I think, a real fulfillment in making something that is your own, and especially if it's like a good piece and it's a piece that you're proud of. That, I think, is an amazing career. If all you do is make your own stuff, that's great. Like you've made it.
I agree. I think writing your own work and making your own work happen, whether or not you want to perform in it, like that's kind of up to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm 100% in favor of performers writing. Writing roles that they would want to play, writing roles stories that they would like to tell. Even if it's not something you write, even if it's like, you know, I decided this is a great play, I want to put it on with my friends or whatever. That's a great, self-producing is a great journey to go on.
Absolutely it is.
And I think every performer should have an experience with that. So next question, Frank asks, I wasn't cast, what do I do now?
You have options, right?
Yeah. And especially if like this is a group you want to get to work with in the future, I'm sure any community theater would love to have you as a stage manager or as a techie or something.
Yeah.
I mean, to some extent, even professionals. I mean, last Christmas, I just sent an email to like 30 local theaters saying you guys need a techie to do some extra like heavy lifting this week. And I got like 3 people responded. So like, if you want a way to get in and show that you have good work ethic and so much you love the craft, manual labor, if you're not afraid of doing that, is a good way to stay involved.
Yeah.
And get to be a part of the show, at least in some capacity. Maybe through shadowing. I know people who've gotten like assistant director-ish positions where it's mostly just director shadowing. I've also known people who've been able to understudy. Like if a show wasn't planning on having understudies, saying, hey, I'd like to come and be at rehearsals and you know. I mean, that might be a little bit too bold. It depends on who you're working with. I wouldn't do this with professional company or anything. But community theaters are usually behind it.
If you don't want to work on the show, if maybe being in tech isn't something that you feel led to, there are ways to further yourself as an actor without being in a show. Read books, read plays, take classes. You're never too old to take a new class. I can't stress that enough. If you want to learn how to tap dance, tap dance.
Go for
if you want to play the cello.
Yeah.
Like more and more in theater especially, you have to do everything.
Yeah.
And that's no longer just sing, act, and dance. Like you have to be able to do tumbling and juggling and speak a different language and play an instrument. So just learn as much as you can.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and create your own work. Like if this is a thing and you're not getting cast, that's a good time to say, hey, I'm gonna make something happen for myself. I'm gonna write a play. I'm going to do a cabaret with my friends where we sing our favorite Broadway song. People might not pay to come see it. It could be a free thing.
But like, you'll be doing it.
And we're not trying to say that like the first time you don't get cast, you need to start like
just like screw the system.
Right. Because like more often than not, you won't get cast.
If you don't get cast the next 15 times, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like that's just the nature of the business.
Exactly.
You cannot place your value as an actor or as a person in other people, in casting directors. Like it has to come from somewhere else.
That's right. So Frank, hang in there.
Hang in there, Frank.
Keep working on something.
Well, thank you very much for tuning into Queries and Quandaries and Quirky Questions on a Quouch.
Yeah, we definitely had a good time answering your questions. If you have any more questions that maybe you thought of or you forgot to submit or whatever, feel free to submit them to us, and if we get enough, we might do another episode.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe.
Please do.
Buy the merch.
That's right. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
Yep.
And stay quouchy.
Stay quouchy, friends. Gosh.
It's a really good word. Oh, we got one more.
Who's it from?
It's anonymous. It says, what do you do when nobody submits questions to the advice episode of your hit viral web series?
Cry.